I know I put it in the title of the video, but I just want to be 100% clear. This is going to be a spoiler review. I'm not going to do a spoiler-free review, mostly just because this isn't Black Panther, where you could just jump in and watch it and enjoy it. For this one, you have to have seen all the MCU films, maybe not the Hulk, or you won't really understand what's happening. And honestly, if at this point you haven't seen all the MCU films, you probably weren't interested in this in the first place. Like, who's the audience that is waiting for a review to go and watch this film? I just feel like that middle ground is so small. So I just wanted to go right into a spoiler review because there are already spoiler reviews out, and I think most people just kind of want validation in their opinion. So maybe I can give that to you. It was great. I loved it. You know, I don't know that the sense of awe was quite there as much as in Avengers. I guess at that point, I just had zero expectation that they would be able to pull it off as well as they did. Whereas here, my expectation was that there was going to be a well-done product. Most of the time, I go see movies, you know, that Thursday night, and I'm a morning person. So when it starts getting like 9:30 and it's not a great movie, I'm like, I'm not gonna fall asleep. I would never fall asleep during a movie. But I start to get bored a lot easier than I normally would. So if a movie's not holding my attention, you know, I'm gonna notice. That didn't happen, and this movie's 2 hours, 45 minutes long. So clearly, doing something right. I think there's certainly an argument to be made that some people have that maybe their favorite character didn't get as much time as they would have wanted, or some characters didn't really get a lot to do. It was just, you know, 2 minutes here, 2 minutes there. But I never really felt that, I guess because I just didn't expect there to be a huge arc for any of the characters in this film, because we've seen at least one movie with an arc for all of them, and for most of them, more than one. And I felt like each character, even in their 5 minutes, was used as well as they could be to get in one cool action scene or a couple cool jokes, even for some of the smaller characters like Falcon or Black Widow.
If he gets all the Infinity Stones, he can do it with the snap of his fingers. Just like that.
Tell me his name again.
Thanos.
Speaking of Thanos, that's where most of this movie went, obviously, and I think that was great because unlike all the heroes, we don't know Thanos at all. He's been, you know, the end of credits guy, a line here and there in the Guardians films, but now we get to see him, and like, dude was kicking some major butt out here, okay? And you know, I think we all knew Loki was going to die pretty quick. That was one of the ones we all saw coming. But still, it establishes like, okay, this dude's not something you mess around with. Plus, when we see him, everyone's already dead, but except for Thor and Loki. And then just throughout the film, everyone to him is just a joke, a complete joke. Obviously, they threw in that Hulk fight too to show his strength. But then throughout, just as he gets these Infinity Stones and you see him put them to use, it was great. And they throw in some nice character sequences with Gamora so that we get to understand not just what he's doing, but why he's doing it, which makes him more than just another evil guy who happens to be extremely powerful, which is part of what makes him cool and threatening, but also knowing that he actually has a reason that he believes justifies what he's doing. I wouldn't say I like him more than Loki, just because Loki we've known through so many more films and is still, just because of that, a more complete character to me, but easily my second favorite MCU villain, which isn't saying a whole lot, but is what it is. And I mean, like, we get his groupies. I don't really know who any of them are, as someone who knows these characters almost entirely just from the films and not from the comics. So, you know, I got a decent sense of like, hey, this guy's really strong, you know, this Maw guy, he can like move stuff around with his hands, he's a magic dude. But I didn't really feel for any of them, but that wasn't really the point, so I wasn't worried about it, and it allowed for some cool action scenes, which is, I think, really all I needed them for.
Evacuate the city. Engage all defenses. And get this man a shield.
I mean, really, the action scenes were probably my least favorite part of the film. Not that I thought they were particularly bad, but there wasn't any one moment that really like stood out, except for maybe Bucky and Rocket Raccoon. I thought that moment was great, but most of the time it was just action, and it was cool to see some characters fight together that we hadn't seen before. But most of the things I remember from this film are interactions with the heroes themselves rather than fights. Seeing Iron Man and Peter Quill butt heads, or Doctor Strange, seeing those personalities come together was really what made this film stand out for me.
Who the hell are you guys?
Really, the only thing that I really didn't like was the ending, and that's in that I really had the expectation that we were going to get some big, serious deaths in this film. And while I do think Loki's gone, Gamora maybe, probably Vision as well, it was just everyone disappearing at the end. Yes, it was still shocking, and I was one of those people at the end of the theater was just kind of sitting there like, wow. And maybe this is just me not being used to seeing a Marvel film that actually has a sad ending, but it was just so clear to me that, okay, we got part 2 coming up, and that almost none of those deaths at the end are actually final. And so I think how I feel about the ending, to me, will change a lot depending on what they do in that next Avengers film. Because how much are these deaths actually going to mean anything? Is it just a quick 1-second thing where they're all back within the next 30 minutes of the next film? Maybe do they not come back until the end, in which case we get a little bit more time in there to let their deaths sink in, or disappearances. Or maybe some of them actually do stay dead, which would be not good, obviously, but just in the sense that I would be really annoyed if we built up Thanos as this really powerful guy, and then just everything is reversed at the end, and it turns out, oh well, maybe it wasn't really such a big deal because everyone survives again. You can only face overwhelming odds so many times and survive until it's not overwhelming odds anymore. So maybe I'll look back on it differently depending on what they do in the next part, but right now that ending bugs me a little bit. But the rest of the movie pretty much checked off all the boxes for me. If there are things that I could knock the rest of the film for, I mean, maybe if you get more invested in some of the superhero stories than other ones, you could get bugged by how much they bounce around and how long it can be between cuts to the same story. It might be one story and then they cut away from it and then it's another 20-25 minutes until you come back to it. And I can understand how that might get annoying if you're not invested in the stories in between, but I found all the stories interesting. I know one of my friends was more interested in the Guardians of the Galaxy stories because, hey, Gamora, Nebula, Drax, they actually have personal investments in Thanos. But to me, everyone really had personal investments because everyone knows at least one other person in the universe that they care about and they don't want them to die. So that's why I felt that everyone had a personal investment, and I liked the characters anyway, and I felt that they all had something on the line, so that's why I don't really agree with that. I can't really say anything else. I thought it was great. Most of you have probably already seen this who are watching this, and you probably liked it too. If you didn't, I'd love to know, because I want to know what you think this film could have done better, considering all the things it had to fit in it, because I don't really know. So let me know in the comments, like, subscribe, whatever. Catch you on the flip side.